queue it up at 7, but normally I can just do it myself.
Weekend, actually.
First, I didn't make a comment. Please. Back for a second.
Close myself.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
We get started, just not, I can't get it to share.
Just go back to
I'd like to call this meeting of the Woonsocket City Council to order for Monday, March 2nd, 2020. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bryan.
Here.
Councilman Canoia.
Here.
Councilman Githis.
here.
Councilwoman Sierra.
Here.
Councilman Susi.
Here.
Councilman Ward.
Here.
President Gendron.
Here, we do have a quorum. If you could please stand for the prayer and the pledge.
God our Father, we ask that you send your blessing upon this city and upon this council. Guide us in our efforts, increase our motivation, and strengthen our resolve to build a better community, ensure a brighter future for the city of Woonsocket. This we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda for Board of License Commissioners.
20 LC 07, a request of the Autumn Fest Steering Committee to hold a Tag Day license on Saturday, June 13, 2020, with a rain date of Sunday, June 14, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Githis, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments? I will just make a simple comment that as my past practice, I will not be supporting any tag days, so there is no exception to this one, but it's not a personnel thing. It's just I don't believe in the tag day concept, so I will not be supporting it for safety reasons. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Let the record reflect that the council president voted in the negative.
20 LC 09, application of licenses and renewal of licenses.
Council President,
Councilman Bryan.
I make a motion that we approve Class F liquor with entertainment license, holiday license, tobacco license, and under renewals, automobile junkyard, firearms license, holiday license, pawnbroker license, quarterly entertainment, secondhand dealer, auto, secondhand dealer merchandise, street vendor, and tobacco license.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Bryan, seconded by Councilman Githis. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Canoia.
just want to ask the folks in the administration, do you have any issues with any of these license requests?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20 LC 09 is approved 7-0.
20 LC 10, a request of the Woonsocket Redskins Youth Football and Cheer Organization to hold a Tag Day license on Saturday, August 15, 2020, with a rain date of Saturday, August 22, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilman Canoia, seconded by Councilwoman Sierra. Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it on a 6-1 vote. Citizens' good and welfare. I would ask if there is anyone here that would like to address the City Council, that you please approach the podium State your name and address for the record. Adjust the microphone so that we can hear you. And please keep your comments to under 5 minutes and in good taste.
Council members, Richard Montero, 156 Earl Street, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I'd like to speak briefly this evening, if I may, on an event that's coming up, and it's the Committee to Save St. Charles Church. As most all citizens know by now, St. Charles Borromeo Parish was decimated and the church was locked shut in January by decree of the bishop. What makes this important to each and every person living in Woonsocket and in northern Rhode Island is that St. Charles Borromeo as a church was built by Irish immigrants as a place for them to worship as they toiled building the canal system, the railroad, and at the factories, and then to become a joint place of worship to French Canadians and Italians as they came for work in the area and before they could establish their own ethnic-based Catholic church. St. Charles Borromeo Church existed before the incorporation of this city, Woonsocket. St. Charles Borromeo Church also existed before the Catholic Diocese of Providence. It is the only consecrated Catholic church in Woonsocket and in northern Rhode Island. As a structure, it is arguably the most significant building standing in Woonsocket and northern Rhode Island. Prior to the church being closed for sacramental services by the diocese, a group came together and formed a formal committee, the Committee to Save St. Charles. This committee of 10 members undertook a David versus Goliath task to reverse the decision of the bishop and to pursue all avenues to have the church reopened and the building remain intact. There is more in play than what is most important to us, parishioners and Catholics, which is for us our place of worship. There is, between assets and cash endowments, about $4 million that will go to the Diocese of Providence if this is not reinstated as a church and reopened. If the Committee to Save St. Charles Church is not successful, the most historically significant and religiously significant building will stay closed, and the building could end up at the wrong end of a wrecking ball. The Committee to Save St. Charles Church has arranged a celebration of hope, like a block party, to be held in front of St. Charles Church on Daniel Street on March the 16th, the eve of St. Patrick's Day. It is a free event, starting at 5:30 p.m. through 7 p.m. There will be activities, food, music, Irish dances, brief presentations on the church history, the Irish history of the area, and several short prayers. It is free, and the purpose is to celebrate this historical and religious monument. The committee asks everyone who can come to be there in a respectful manner and to show your support for the effort to reopen and keep open the church building and the parish. The committee wanted me to express their sincere gratitude to this city council for approving a permit to hold the event. They also wanted to express a sincere thank you to the Honorable Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt for her personal support and to all of her administration and directors. Lastly, the committee wanted to thank local business person Joseph and business people, I should say, Joseph and Fernanda Gaspar, the owners of the Bocce Club, for their extremely generous donation, and to former Councilman Chris Beauchamp for his involvement in donations in the past and currently. And City Council, that's all I have on that topic. If I could just take one more moment, I think I have probably a minute left. I read in the Woonsocket Call today something on preparation for coronavirus as it might impact the city. And while I read it, and I'm sure plenty of the citizens of the city are aware of it, folks might not have read the Woonsocket Call and to understand fully what the city is doing to out of concern for the city workers who are involved with the public every day. So I wanted to get up here and give someone from the administration responding to my question about it, so they wouldn't be in violation of open meetings law, the opportunity to respond to the question if they choose. If they want to, any member of the administration, what's the city doing? Just so folks that maybe didn't read it, didn't hear it, would hear it from the administration. So so that you're not in violation of Open Meetings Act, I'm asking a question, and I think you have the right to respond to my question.
Unfortunately, the council can respond to your question,
Oh.
but
Oh, okay.
we don't, I will say, if there's anyone here that can answer your question, I'm sure that they would be willing to answer it, but is there anyone here that, from the administration? Okay.
Do you mean citywide or City Hall?
Not for citizens, but just for Public Works Department, 670 workers that come in contact with the public. I'm not trying to create a panic, but in response, being proactive. Again, reading it in the paper, and I know the municipality is taking.
So basically,
Director, if you can use the mic.
basically, practice good hygiene, sterilize as many objects as you come in contact with, doorknobs, railings, bathrooms, countertops, so on and so forth. So, we're proactive in that approach. I know the fire chief and public safety aspect of the city had a conference today with the state officials, and I'm sure the mayor will be sharing more on her radio interview on Wednesday.
Perfect.
But we're being as proactive as can be.
I'm aware of that personally. I just wanted maybe just
Right.
to the
We're not
public,
gonna start walking around
under
with
this
face masks
forum that
on.
people do watch the council meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I could just add,
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could
Director?
just add, the fire chief was very well ahead of this, working with the Woonsocket LMC Landmark Medical Center. So we had a conference this morning. There's also something going on Wednesday. We'll also have some Thursday. So we'll have all the answers, and we're doing the best we can as far as everything that's happening in our state with that virus.
Very good. Is there anyone else that would like to address the city council? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval and correction of the minutes of the meeting of February 3rd and February 20th, 2020.
Council President,
Council Vice President Brian.
if there are no additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes of the meeting of February 3rd.
Councilman, can you bring the mic up?
Yes.
Please.
If there are no additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of the meeting held on February 3rd or the meeting held on February 20th, I move that they be accepted as presented.
Motion made by Council Vice President Brian, seconded by Councilman Ward. Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the minutes from the February 3rd and February 20th meetings are approved 7-0. Consent agenda.
Motion to accept.
Motion made by Councilman Canoyer,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Ward and Councilwoman Sierra. Are there any items to be taken up individual out of the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is approved as presented 7-0. Communications and petitions.
20 CP06, request of Councilman Ward to address the following. 1, Assessment Review Board decisions and tax abatements arising or not therefrom.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The first set of questions, I know my brother, Vinnie Ward, who is the chairman of the Assessment Review Board, came before us and mentioned he wondered what happened with various matters that had come before them, and was assured that we would be receiving the list of items that should be abated. And I went through some of the history of the Assessment Review Board minutes, and have discovered that there were 4 properties owned by a Jeffrey Winokur. Looks like they're related to storage units that were approved for a 15% reduction in value, which would require an abatement, that the council has never received the resolution for that abatement. There is also 4 separate sets of properties that had various reductions in value that were approved for Gary Fernandez, none of which have come before this body. These were all approved on June 27th, 2019. I wonder if we might, I'll leave you the list, Director. so that we can maybe get to putting these resolutions on. In addition, on January 30th of 2020, there was an adjustment approved by the board for Wayne and Keith Beauchamp at their Mendon Road property. Windermere Woods had a reduction approved. Chase and Paper for the 30 Ascension Street property, and St. Anthony LLC for a Main Street property, all having had reductions in value approved that have never come before the council. And I know with the tax assessor only working for us on an hourly contract type basis, I don't know that these have been on her radar, but I'll leave you with the list so that we can take care of getting these things adjusted, because my understanding is some of the 2019 items, some of the companies that have requested abatements or requested adjustments that were approved are coming back for a second round because they've gotten another bill, and the first adjustment wasn't made in order to correct for the subsequent billing. So I'll leave this with you and let you take care of processing that. The second item that I have on my request has to do with something that apparently I feel as though I've inspired the mayor. I put on the agenda last Wednesday a discussion about solar parking canopies, municipal fleet conversion to electric vehicles, and municipal parking lot charging stations. And the reason I brought it up actually is because in the town of Lincoln we're about to completely resurface our town hall parking lot, and the question arose, or I raised the question about putting canopies on, because I had seen other places that had. Matter of fact, specifically the PUC office down in Warwick, I believe, had put a solar-powered canopy on with charging stations for people visiting their office. And I thought it would be something that we should take into consideration here in Woonsocket, and so I asked that it be on the agenda for discussion. It seems to have inspired the mayor to put out a press release as a brilliant idea, and I thank her for that, although I'm not mentioned in it. However, that being said, the other reason I brought it up is because in researching the information for the town of Lincoln, I discovered that if you are installing charging stations on your property, if you are a government-owned property, you can get up to 100% of the project costs for a level 2 or DC fast charging at government-owned buildings, which means, in theory, if we have some parking places, let's say we put parking canopy over at the library, and the people coming into the library, we could actually install charging stations so that for those people who may have electric vehicles, and I think that'll become more and more prevalent in the future, they would have the ability to plug in while they're in the library, taking care of their business, and get a free charge. Not free because the city ultimately has to pay for it, but the fact is it's a practical courtesy that we could offer in certain instances, certainly not for everybody just to plug in and leave their car there, but for a limited amount of time. In any case, my point was that having discovered that these could potentially be free to us, it made even more sense to consider putting in parking canopies with solar panels. And the other reason was because it occurred to me that, well, first off, a study that was published in Forbes magazine points out that because of the price of our electricity in New England being the highest in the country, that in fact it's most beneficial to New England to have electric vehicles and charge electric vehicles. And it occurred to me that in the very recent past, I've noticed, and I've had the opportunity to test drive some electric SUVs, and there are some fairly affordable SUVs out there, and I know the city uses SUVs in several instances that we should consider buying all electric once we can get this done and get these charging stations put in, because there's a product put out by Hyundai, there's a product put out by Chevy, there's a product put out by Kia. I don't think we'll be going for the Teslas or the Mercedes-Benz or the Jaguar, but there are affordable. Well, maybe if you can convince.
It's coming down.
But my point is, the vehicles are coming online. There's 21 models. There's 22 models that are coming out that aren't out yet. And the other reason is there are also pickup trucks that they're coming out with individual motors on each of the four wheels that are computer controlled. Those are coming out in 2022 for the most part, and so there may be even an opportunity to take some of our pickup trucks and possibly get into putting charging stations down at the highway garage with a canopy down there so that they would actually have a little bit of weather protection as well as being able to get charged overnight and be available to the workers in the morning. And I'm sure these aren't light-duty pickup trucks necessarily. They're intended to be, normal pickup truck quality products that could be used in many of the situations I'm sure that the highway department or the water division or the sewer division use in their day-to-day operations, and even the school department, because I know they have several pickup trucks. So I wanted to bring that up and just put it out there because I think it's something that is going to be coming and coming soon, and I think the city is in a place where we should be working on it in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
Council Vice President Brian.
May I comment on something that's already on the agenda this evening in regard to Councilman Ward's agenda item?
Of course.
And that is in regard to his number 2 item, solar canopies. And I have to say that he made reference to solar canopies, and he made reference to a press release that was issued today by the administration, which took myself and certainly the members of the the Renewable Energy Subcommittee by surprise. This is for a number of reasons, and I'll go into those now. Just a little bit of history in regard to solar canopies and how they relate to the city of Woonsocket, I would mention that on April 3rd of 2017, we started a Renewable Energy Subcommittee. And that subcommittee selected Green Energy LLC from RFP, and on June 17th, 2019, via Resolutions 19R71, we unanimously instructed the administration to immediately begin contract negotiations with Green Development. That was, at this point, almost 9 months ago. We've had meeting upon meeting upon meeting. One of those sites is that we originally chose of the 4 sites was Aylesworth Avenue and the Woonsocket Area Career Technical Center in my day known as the student parking lot. And it calls for a solar canopy to be put on that particular site. And we've been talking about this for quite some time. That was part of the original plan. In fact, I would state that part of that plan that we approved, that's the grid right there. That's what it looks like. That's the picture that was provided to us as part of that. I was incredibly surprised today when I read that the administration and the mayor is quoted as talking about continuing our initiatives to go green, including upgrading the energy efficiency of our city buildings, thermostats, and heating and air conditioning units, and working with the Rhode Island DEM to investigate putting solar farms on brownfield sites within the city. Nowhere in this discussion are the 4 plots, the 4 sites, the 4 solar arrays that have been approved by the City Council that the administration was instructed to begin working on in June of 2019. And yet we just continue to have meetings after meetings about meetings that happened before that meeting. It's frustrating to say the least. I would like to say that it also stated in this press release regarding solar canopies, it says several years, we've been studying this for several years, which I find hard to believe because we had an instructive incident in the last subcommittee meeting in which we actually showed members of the administration what a solar canopy actually looked like. So this has been going on for several years, which is hard to believe because we're talking about the cost then was too high, but the prices now are more reasonable. The issue I have here is that the proposal that has been passed by this city council back in June calls for a solar canopy that literally will cost the city $0. And yet we're not moving on it. And we could be. And we should be. And yet things like this press release get put out And it's very frustrating to me and others that would like to see us moving forward, and we're not moving forward in the way that we ought to be moving forward. In fact, the Valley Breeze on June 19th of 2019 stated in its article covering the approval of those 4 sites, it includes a covered carport array that would be built over the Career and Technical Center parking lot on Aylesworth Ave that would generate approximately 660 kilowatts. What I find here is this need and this race to take credit to create an illusion that this was all out there, this was all getting done, this was all in the works. I put forth a letter, and I have that letter here, on June 24th, to the mayor herself, asking her.
Councilman?
Yes.
Just make sure you keep it to the canopy.
It is in regard to canopies. If there were canopy sites that were being proposed, we were going to do an RFP for solar. I asked if there were other sites that should be included in this RFP. I never got a response, but yet this has been in the works for years. We could have done the RFQ then. We could have done anything, but yet we're led to believe that this has always been in the works. I don't think it's any secret as to why this particular press release was put out today. I don't think it's hard to believe that it's false on its face. But I will tell you what's the most frustrating part about this is that our solar canopy plan could already be under construction, and it's not. There is a solar farm that was approved, and I recognize that it's a private endeavor. It got through the regulatory process in December, and it's almost completed in March. We've been at this for 3 years, and we can't even get anything done. But yet, this has been in the works for years. It's a farce, and I think people should really know what's going on here. That was a way to try to get ahead of Councilman Ward's discussion of solar canopies, to get ahead of what we're trying to accomplish, because if there was a true feeling of cooperation between the City Council and the administration for the good of the city, they'd already be parking under a solar canopy, or at least one would be in the works over on Aylesworth Ave, and it's not happening. So I needed to make that clarification, because I think today was just a perfect example of the kabuki theater that happens quite often here at City Hall. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Director?
So, Councilman Brian, you know I sent you an email today. We met Friday with Green Development. And I told you then at the meeting, and I'm going to tell you now, we're not rushing into a project just because you want to. It's going to be right, and it's going to be done properly, and it's going to be to our standards to protect the city. That's the way it's going to be. This is not the State House or the outhouse or whatever. We're not campaigning now, okay? I met with them, and when they put forth a proposal...
Director, just keep it. It's the noticed item is solar canopies.
That's
so
correct. Yeah, that's what I'm addressing.
It has nothing to do with campaigning.
Well, I disagree, but anyway.
So would I, Director. So would I.
Okay.
But not coming from me.
Okay. So when they put forth a proposal that makes sense and is good for the city, I'm 100% for it. And I told them that Friday, okay? But it will include an upgrade of that parking lot. And until that happens, I'm not going to agree to it. It's that simple. You can't put a solar canopy on a parking lot that's in disarray, disrepair, whatever. So we're not just going to rush into something because it got put out 9 months ago or whatever. When the company sets forth a respectable plan that makes sense for the taxpayers of this city, there'll be no issue. I met with them on Friday. We had a good meeting, actually. So, you know, and as far as the solar arrays in the parking lots, I went to see the PUC solar array 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to the mayor right after I left, and I said, you know what, this wouldn't be bad in some of our parking lots in the city. And I'm surprised you waited this long to put the press release out. But yeah, and thank Councilman Ward for putting it on the agenda. I think it makes sense. I'm not against it, but even in a city lot, any parking lot in the city, if the city's needs reconstruction or whatever, the parking lot, you shouldn't put the array up first. It just doesn't make sense.
No one's suggesting that, Director.
Well,
but the point remains that if everyone was moving in the same direction,
say the administration, I mean, that's me. I've been
alone. Not you alone, Steve. You're not the mayor.
I know that, John. Councilman, I should say. But, I've been moving forward in good faith. I want a good deal for the city. And I said that to you. I said, if my name's on it, I want something good. I don't care if it's fast. I want it done right. Okay? Because it's not going to be around for 20 years and they're going to say, who did this? It's not happening.
I think it's clear we all want
Well,
a
and
proper
I said,
finished
and
product.
we met Friday, and I said
question.
in an email today, I said we should meet again and discuss what was discussed Friday, and then we'll see where it goes. I think that's fair. It's not my fault if they dragged their feet, the company that was chosen. Or they called in and said some of their people couldn't show up at a previous meeting. That's not my fault. When have I ever said one time that I cannot make a meeting with them?
Steve,
one
I
time.
don't think, Director, I don't think that's what's happening here. I don't think that this has been, there is a
Listen,
press
I'm going to
release
tell
put
the
out.
mayor at the end of the day, look, this is good, this is bad. Whatever happens after that is her business. Okay? She's the mayor, the CEO. She can do what she wants with it. But I'm going to put forward an honest proposal to her.
If you can state, with all due candor, that there has been complete support of this solar project by the City Council that has gone forward since the beginning by everyone in this building, I would be incredibly surprised at your ability to say that, because it's just not true. And I know that's not
By
true.
me?
Not
All
by
right.
you.
I'm going to stop this now. I think we've all gotten off track.
20 CP07, a request of Public Works Director to address the City Council regarding the Winter Wonderland and all expenses and personnel efforts attributed to the production of this event.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So, Council President, I put this on. I was told, or I read some emails, there was some interest in this event, so in full disclosure and, transparent government and everything we do, I put a list together of this event, Winter Wonderland, and as you can see, it's all itemized. The cost was $16,000, 136.04. Reusable items total to about $8,900 roughly, 8,905.36. Reusable is lights and all associated items with Santa Claus and Christmas and what have you. So I'll entertain any questions. And the Director of Finance, I had asked her, Councilman, when you emailed her several times, not to forward anything until I put this list together, because I want it to be right and accurate. So that's really what it amounts to.
Are there any questions for the Director? Councilman Canoia.
Director, thank you for this. Just one question.
Councilman, can you? Thank you.
The reusables,
Yes.
the 8,900 and change,
Yes.
that's part of the 16, correct? Of this, is that how I read this? Of the 16,000,
Yes.
8,900 is reusable, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you total those two, non-reusable, and it comes up to the 16,
Okay.
136.04.
Director, can we expect a similar assessment from public safety and any other departments that had participation in the Winter Wonderland?
Certainly. I can
Okay.
get that one.
And Director Chamberlain, if there's any other divisions besides Public Works and Public Safety, if there's any other expended funds, if we could get that also, so we can get I believe that the Vice President was looking for a totaled itemized cost for the whole event. So this is great. This certainly covers your portion, Director, and I think it's all inclusive. So if we can get this for the rest of the stuff, I think that would be good. Any other comments or
If I could
questions?
if I could add, there was 3 events that day, so public safety is a little, there was something in the middle, there was something at Pole Express, and there's something in Winter Wonderland. We had crossing officers there, but I'll try to break it down the best I can just for the Winter Wonderland.
Okay, thank you. Councilman?
Just a quick question for the director. There's a bunch of items. I think they total around 1,700 just under reimbursement. So, is there a way that you could specify that a little bit more in future?
Those items were for gifts for the children and whatever. They were prizes that were handed out that day by Santa Claus, and there was a drawing as well, numbers in a hat, that type of thing. And so it was basically gifts.
Okay, thank you.
All set? Any other comments? Hearing none.
Council President,
Councilman Brian.
I'd like to make a motion pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4246 6B to add the following item to the agenda for discussion for informational purposes, and that would be in regard to my request for information in regard to the Winter Wonderland, as well as the ensuing memo that was issued by the City Solicitor as a result thereof of that inquiry.
Motion made by Council Vice President Brian.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Ward to add the noted agenda item to tonight's agenda for discussion purposes only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Let the record reflect that the vote was 6-1 with Councilman Kithis voting no. Councilman Brian, discussion purposes only, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council President. And Director, thank you for that. I appreciate your breakdown. It's comprehensive, and it is certainly seems to be very itemized, and I'm grateful for that. It was that there was really not a lot of interest generated in this particular event, but I had requested it. And I guess my first question is, I'm not quite sure why the information isn't, and I appreciate your presentation, but I don't know why, I had made this request to the finance director, and I don't know why it just couldn't have been sent to me directly and had to be on the agenda. It's fine that it was, and I appreciate your effort and your breakdown. And
Well, I'm meticulous about my department, councilman, and I don't like other people explaining where my money is spent.
And I certainly understand that. But this process was certainly a difficult one to try to get this information. And I'm not pointing the finger at you, Director, because you provided this information. But I would let you know that on January 10th, I sent an email to the finance director, and the request was for a breakdown of total man hours and costs associated with, accumulated by the Public Works and Highway Department, a breakdown of total man hours and costs associated by Public Safety, all expenses and invoices paid by vendors, food, attractions, etc., a breakdown of any monies paid and from what account they originated from in regard to compensation paid in conjunction with the event, and an overall total of the costs associated with the Winter Wonderland. On January 13th, the finance director stated to the city clerk, please record this request for information, which would make me start by saying, why is everything that the city council requests treated like an Access to Public Records Act request? We as a council, we ask for information, we're entitled to the information, yet the information is usually given at the last hour, on the last day, or not at all.
Well, I can respond with the man hours if you would. She wouldn't know the man hours.
And I appreciate that. And so,
And I respect you. You know, you have every right to know any expense in this city. I totally concur with that, and I believe in honest, transparent, open government. From the bottom of my heart.
And I appreciate that, Director. But every request we make is treated as an APRA request, rather than just, hey, this is what we have. So, on January 14th, I got the email from the finance director that says, I asked Director D'Agostino for input regarding the information requested. I went to Wonderland. He'd like you to contact him directly. And with all due respect, Director, I didn't ask you. I asked the finance director. We've been told a number of times the finance director can't possibly provide the information for Department of Public Works and Department of Public Safety. So therefore, we're to assume that the director of the Department of Public Works is more suited to satisfy a request made of you, finance director.
Excuse me, may I speak?
Absolutely.
Every department has access to their account numbers. They sign off on their expenditures. So, Councilman Brian, they are capable, they can answer questions regarding their accounts. And I sent an email to you telling you that Director D'Agostino was going to address this request. And then last Friday, you came back to me and said, I think no, excuse me.
I think I have the floor, number one. And number two, I'm going to cover that email, so don't you worry about it. So we'll get there. We're going to go through this chain, okay? So we'll get there. So you'll have an opportunity to respond, should you so choose at that point. But I'm giving you a comprehensive chain.
Oh, please do.
Of correspondence. I am.
Thank you.
So, and I'm also responding to the fact that several times we've been told that one department is not going to provide the information for another department, and we've been told that in a public setting in these meetings by you. But yet I'm being told that another department is going to satisfy a request made of you. The clerk asked me on the 27th, today's the deadline to your request. Did you receive your response? I recall the finance director stating that Director D'Agostino would be replying to your request. That didn't happen. In fact, he didn't know that there was any public records request made. He stated right here, what do you mean due today? I was not aware of any timeline. I have not reviewed expenditures in regard to the department. And Director, I get it. That's fine. It takes time. Okay? But let's just stop the tape for a minute. The finance director sends me to you, the Director of Public Works, for info and doesn't inform you that it's being treated as an access to public records request. Okay? So what's going on here? Then we move on, and I say to the City Solicitor, please see highlighted below. I'm waiting for an answer on this, and we're well beyond the time frame. Solicitor says to me, I don't think Chris took it as a APR request. Did you ask the director? But you are entitled to the info. And I agree with the City Solicitor 100%. We are entitled to the info. But now, if we review, the finance director treats this like an APR request. She sends me to the Public Works director at his request. But he isn't told that this is being treated like an opens record request. And neither is the City Solicitor. This is dysfunctional at best. So, I respond on February 4th. Clearly, there is only a portion that Director D'Agostino can provide. The rest is for the finance director to provide. Okay. Director D'Agostino on February 4th says to me, Councilman, I want to provide accurate information, which I do appreciate. So when I have a total cost, I'll forward. Sorry for the delay. Now, I recognize that there is a lot that the Department of Public Works is doing. And I recognize that record keeping probably isn't the number one, and budgeting is not the first thing in regard to these issues, Director, in your wheelhouse. But what I will make the point as, 2 months after the Winter Wonderland occurred, and 1 month after my request was made, we don't have any information. However, I will point out that on the 4th of November, we heard 19 CP 29, a request of the Public Works Director to address the City Council regarding costs associated with Autumn Fest, and 19 CP 30, a request of the Public Safety Director to address the City Council regarding costs associated with Autumn Fest. So what does that mean? 20 days after Autumn Fest, we can quantify 4 full days worth of cost for that event. But we can't compile 1 day worth of information 2 months later. Again,
Well, I can respond if you will let me.
the request was made of the Finance Director.
Well, I understand that, but in regards to, I don't want to get off topic, so I'm going to leave it up to the council. Can I respond to the how we could respond in 20 days for Autumn Fest?
You have the floor. Do you want to?
It's a simple answer.
Go ahead, Director.
Quite simply, I told the highway superintendent to track the hours. I was curious over the last 6 years as to what we actually spent there. Okay? So I said, this year, I want you to track, but normally we would, we wouldn't. Okay? With this event, you got balloons, lights, cupcakes, whatever. If it was just man hours, it would be easy. But it wasn't. It was a whole bunch of other items that I wanted to be accurate. I want to present good, accurate information, not just wing it. That's why it took a little time. I want all the receipts in, and I wanted good auditing, and it is in my wheelhouse, quite frankly, what I need it to be.
I think there was a zeal to present the Autumn Fest information, and there was a lack of such here. So it's not, if the Finance Director, as she states, is able to access all the other departments, it shouldn't be that difficult to quantify a series of invoices, what came in and what went out after 2 months. I just have a hard time believing that. But you've provided accurate and good information here tonight, Director, and I appreciate that. So on February 21st, I sent an email to the Finance Director stating on the 10th of January, I sent the following request. I then said, you passed me off to the Public Works Director. However, I am not seeking his information on all of these. Specifically, the Public Works Director cannot tell me, and I enumerated those. I said, in regard to these items, only you can, as you are the Finance Director. Accordingly, I would like this request answered forthwith, as we are well past the allotted time frame to answer such a request. I got no response. On February 25th, I sent the Director an email, said, Director, I am baffled as to your non-responsiveness and disregard of my request. On Wednesday, the 26th, a full month and a half after my request, and 2.5 months after the event, I went to see the Director of Finance at her office. I asked if I could speak to her. She said yes. We discussed my request in her office, and I stated I wanted the information as I am entitled to it. I was neither rude, nor threatening, nor abusive. Am I guilty of being frustrated? Of course. Who wouldn't be at this point? I did ask for the information. As a result of that request, and as a result of my visit, a memo was issued by the City Solicitor. A rather vanilla one, I will add. It's a vanilla one, but it was a memo issued nonetheless as a direct result of my visit to the Finance Director, and I'll address that in a moment. I called the City Solicitor to voice my objection over the content of this memo, as I was simply seeking information on Winter Wonderland. I was told that upon the arrival, the City Solicitor was told to deal with this issue immediately, that There was a phone call made to the city council president in which there was a very volatile discussion that was had. City council president, am I wrong? Am I inaccurate in that statement?
Yes,
I'm inaccurate in that statement.
you're accurate.
Oh, I am accurate. I asked if I was inaccurate.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
I am not inaccurate.
No.
Okay, thank you. And it was demanded by the mayor that something be done, that I had the temerity to speak to the finance director about an issue that I had requested 2.5 months earlier. And so we get this memo. And in this memo, and like I said, I understand, we've said this before, City Solicitor, we all have a boss. So I understand sometimes you have to draft what's being asked of you. And this is a very vanilla document. But it says it's important to understand that when dealing with city departments, unlike private enterprises, sometimes the answer cannot be readily attained without input from other departments, compiling the necessary information to accurately produce the desired response. Two and a half months, I asked, for the cost basis of an event that happened in the city. I go to the finance director to get my answers because nobody is speaking to each other about this, and it's being passed around. It's treated as an Open Records Act, but yet no one's acknowledging it, and it's past the date. Finally, it says, lastly, may I remind everyone that the Woonsocket City Charter, Article 3, Section 1, reads in pertinent part, no member of the council shall interfere directly or indirectly with the conduct of any department. My question is, how is I interfering with a department? How is I interfering with anyone other than requesting information that I am entitled to, that is due to me?
First of all, I didn't know you didn't have what you needed. You had sent that email on a Friday, and then that negative email to me on a Monday. I didn't know your issue hadn't been addressed because I sent you the email weeks earlier telling you Director D'Agostino was going to address the request.
But you're the finance director, and I asked you questions regarding finance that he can't answer. And if you'd like, I can go back and I could say, for instance, a breakdown of any monies paid and from what account they originated from in regard to compensation paid in conjunction with the event. Can the Public Works Director give me that information?
I don't know what employees from Public Works or what employees from Public Safety worked the event, so I'm sorry.
But there are others that worked the event that weren't from either director, that you can provide the information that I have not been provided that information with. My request is still incomplete as of tonight. So I will say that we have been told ad nauseum in this chamber, come to City Hall, ask your questions, speak to us, go to see a director. They'll give you whatever you want. But then when you do, you get a memo issued by the city solicitor, you get an irate mayor, you get a city council president on the horn with his ear getting blown off, you get half answers, and here we are tonight. I mean, have we lost our mind? This is no way to run a government. This is just no way to run a government. If you didn't know that I got the information, all that had to be done, Councilman, did you not get any information yet? Is it still incomplete? You just didn't respond. And it wasn't an abusive or rude email. It's that I'm flabbergasted by your lack of response. And I remain so. I just don't understand how we function this way. The city council is not the enemy. We're entitled to the information we ask for. And so is the rest of the public. If it's there, just put it out. It's going to come out anyway. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilman Ward.
Before we move on to new ordinances, I would ask that we move resolution number 20R23 out of order.
Motion made by Councilman Ward. Motion made by Councilman Ward.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Canoia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R23 is before us.
Recognizing paramedic Remy Graber and emergency medical technician Ryvel Teta on their act of bravery in protecting the lives of 2 individuals.
Motion approved.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilman Canoia, seconded by Councilwoman Sierra. Comments?
Council President.
Councilman Canoia.
I put this on, a form of this was on 2 meetings ago, it was withdrawn. And this is simply recognizing, again, to repeat what the clerk read, recognizing paramedic Remy Graber and emergency medical technician Ryvel Teta on their act of bravery in protecting the lives of 2 individuals. And just for the record, I'll read it into
Please.
full resolution into the record.
That would be nice.
Whereas Remy Graber, a Woonsocket resident, is a paramedic with MedStar Ambulance, and Ryvel Teta is an emergency medical technician with MedStar Ambulance. And whereas on November 11th, 2019, paramedic Graber and EMT Teta were on a routine 2 a.m. call in Millbury, Massachusetts, and encountered a Massachusetts state trooper and another individual in the midst of a dangerous struggle in the middle of the road. And whereas paramedic Graber and EMT Teta, without regard for their own safety, intervened in the struggle and assisted the officer in apprehending the suspect while helping to bring control to the situation and preventing serious harm to either. And whereas paramedic Graber sustained a shoulder injury in the process of de-escalating the struggle, but insisted on immediately assessing both the officer and the other individual to ensure neither had sustained injury. And whereas paramedic Graber and EMT Teta have been recognized by MedStar Ambulance for their selfless act, and attached to this resolution is the communication from MedStar dated January 29th, 2020, recognizing both individuals for their actions. And whereas the Woonsocket City Council expresses a sincere thank you to paramedic Graber and EMT Teta for going above and beyond their job description to ensure the safety of the community and making our city proud in the process. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Woonsocket, Rhode Island as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Woonsocket hereby recognizes and thanks MedStar paramedic Remy Graber and EMT Ryvel Teta on their act of bravery. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage by the City Council. So that's what the resolution says. And I would just simply say that when a form of this was before us, it was pulled, and that's fine. But there were some comments made by people that stood at the rostrum, and they seemed to indicate there was some issue. And I would tell you that from my perspective, and I think the majority of the council feels the same way, for both Remy Graber and his partner, Mr. Teta, what they did was worthy of recognition, and frankly, I could care less about their political views in life or anything else. None of that matters. The only thing we're recognizing here is the act that they took on November 11th, and again, that should be recognized, and they should be proud, and we should be proud of them. So we'll leave it at that.
Well said. And with that said, I will, well, if there's any other comments, but if not, I would like to
Council President?
Councilman Kithis?
I just wanted to say, I'm really glad that all of you are, or those signed on, are in agreement with me that we should be honoring Remy and their partner. And this brave act, Remy's a constituent and somebody I've known for a little while. And it's just, this is, I think it was a really important and brave thing that they did. So I'm really happy to vote yes on this.
Very good. Any other comments?
Council President.
Councilman Ward.
Yeah, as I had indicated to Remy when he was last here, I actually did have the opportunity to speak to the Massachusetts State policeman that was involved and the trooper that they assisted, and he was extremely thankful that they stopped by because he had, quite frankly, admitted that he had fought with this particular person to the point of exhaustion, had no access to a radio to call for backup, and was in a difficult and possibly dangerous situation when they happened upon them and intervened and assisted, which is not necessarily something anybody would do every day of the week. And right out in the middle of the highway, they provided safety by turning on their lights, allowing for people coming up to move around them, and then intervened personally and did what they did to assist the state trooper. So it is something extraordinary, and for that, we should recognize them and honor them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I would just like to make a comment after we finalize this resolution, so I will ask for a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susi?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and now that it's official, thank you very much for your service, and this city and this council recognizes the work of you and your partner. Thank you. Moving back to the regular order of business.
Council President, I actually wanted to make a motion because I noticed the only other person who has a relevant agenda item is in the audience. If we could move 20R21 out of order.
Motion made by Councilman Kithis.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Ward and Councilwoman Sierra to move 20R21 out of order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R21 is before us.
Granting permission to use city property.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilman Ward, seconded by Councilman Susi. Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 20R21 is approved, 7-0. Now, moving back to the regular order of business, new ordinances, Madam Clerk. Oh, yes, I completely forgot. Council Good and Welfare.
Councilman Ward?
Pass.
President Gendron?
Pass.
Councilman Bryan?
Pass.
Councilman Canoia?
Council President? Pass.
Councilman Kithis?
Pass.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Pass.
Councilman Susi?
Pass.
Now, new ordinances.
20003, authorizing the fire chief of the city of Woonsocket to purchase a 2020 Ford F-550 emergency medical services rescue vehicle.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Canoyer. Comments?
Council President?
Councilman Canoyer.
I'd just like to amend Section 1 to, to put at the end after Exhibit A, to add the following. Provided funding for this purchase shall be derived from Community Development Block Grant funding, specifically CDBG account 1-408-408XX-60133.
And you will provide that to the clerk.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Canoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments on the amendment?
Council President.
Councilman Ward.
As alluded to by this amendment, this is a purchase, as we have done every year, for public safety equipment through CDBG funds, and I know there's occasionally people asking through emails and such to be sure that this is actually coming through CDBG, and in fact, this one is. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendment? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susi?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20003 is before us as amended. Comments on the ordinance as amended?
Council President.
Councilman Ward.
Just for the record, because of our having missed the last meeting, this is a first passage.
Yes, it is.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk. On 20003 as amended.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susi?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20003 is passed, first passage, 7-0.
20004, transferring funds from Capital City Fund to Fire Division.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Canoia, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments? I will just make a simple comment that this is a $30,000 match grant, which is for $300,000 worth of firefighting equipment. It is portable radios and washing equipment, washing machines for the firefighters' gear. And it was a grant fund. It was a grant that we must match 10%. So this is the $30,000 to match that grant. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Councilman Canoia?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susi?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20004 is approved, 7-0.
2005, amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, entitled Alcoholic Beverages, Chapter 3, Section 3.5C.
Motion approved.
Motion made by Councilman Canoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments? By way of an explanation, this was brought to us because of an incident that took place at a drinking establishment, and the desire of public safety to close that establishment immediately because of the threat of further infractions or violence in that area. So this will give the City Council, sitting as the Board of License Commissioners, the ability to revoke, or not to revoke, but to close down an establishment for up to 72 hours until we can hold a show cause hearing, at which time they would be given proper notice. But this would immediately stop any potential violence if it was so determined by public safety along with the Board of License Commissioners. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brean?
Yes.
Councilman Canoyer?
Yes.
Councilman Kithis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Susie?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron?
Yes, and 20005 is approved, 7-0. New resolutions.
20R19, authorizing the cancellation of certain taxes.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilman Ward, seconded by Councilman Kithis. Comments?
Council President?
Councilman Ward.
For the record, this particular abatement is for taxes in the total amount of $5,413.88.
Thank you. Any other comments on 20R19? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R19 is approved, 7-0.
20R20, directing the mayor through her administration to issue a request for proposal to employ a vendor to perform a special assessment analysis for the police and fire departments.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Canoyer. Comments?
Council President?
Councilwoman Sierra.
I just want to know if any of the council has any questions concerning this. It's actually a spatial assessment as well. But if anyone had any questions, I know we were all present at the meeting. I'm happy to answer why this is on.
If you could just do a very brief explanation of what that is so that the public will know.
Yes, coming out of our workshop, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the administration regarding public safety study. And out of that meeting, it was determined that the most critical portion of that public safety study was indeed the spatial assessment due to aging firehouses, so on and so forth. So we, as a body, in conjunction with the administration, agreed this being the most important piece of the study, it was most prudent for us to get this done first, because it would give us an idea, A, of what we can expect cost-wise if we go forward with the full study, and it will also maybe minimize the amount of request for a more robust study in the future.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Also present?
Director.
I'd just like to add that we already started that process before this resolution. There was a meeting with the Center for Public Safety, which is an organization, a seminar our Chief Chatra went to, and we're going to have a gentleman come out here March 24th to do an assessment. It's low money and kind of give us a roadmap to getting to that spatial study. And that was in a press release early this last week.
So once again, we were on the forefront, and we inspired the administration to move forward on another project.
Roger that.
Yeah.
This council's full of inspiration.
Yes.
You know what we're going to start doing? Act the Magnificent. We're going to start putting things on the agenda, and it'll be acted on before the meeting. Any other comments? Councilman Canoyer.
Notwithstanding what the director just indicated, because it's not entirely clear to me what the folks in Florida are going to do and how long they're going to be here and how in depth, I still think it makes sense to pass this. However, should we push the dates out a smidge?
If you're, I have no problem pushing the dates out to
for two reasons. One, they're doing a little something there, and two, only because we're just 2 weeks beyond when this was originally anticipated. This was on 2 weeks ago, so
yeah, long before
what if we
the
just
came out.
if we make an amendment to Section 1, instead of March 23rd, we make it March 30th, and instead of April 23rd in Section 2, make it April 3rd. Instead of April 23rd, make it April 30th. So push them out a week on each of them.
Motion made by Councilman Canoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward and Sierra. On the amendment, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Sorry. If we could push it out just a little further than that, because March 24th is our meeting with him, and you said what date, sir?
The 30th.
The 30th?
March.
So, could just give us another
Well,
week.
what date are you anticipating?
I would like probably,
April
because
7th?
we have to get a work session with you folks again, so,
Well, this is just to get the RFP. This isn't for the this is just
a week from March 30th, so what would that be?
Well, April 7th.
April 7th?
6th.
7.
April 6th.
Well, April 6th is a
31
Monday.
days in March.
Perfect.
So why don't we do, all right, so instead of March 23rd, excuse me, instead of March 23rd, we'll make it April 6th, and instead of April 23rd, we'll make that...
May 4th?
May 4th.
That'll be the council meeting in May, first meeting.
That's fine.
I'll second that.
Okay, so motion made by Councilman Canoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward and Sierra to amend 20R20. On the amendment, any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R20 is before us as amended. On the main motion as amended, any comments?
Council President,
Councilman Brian.
I just have a question for the director. So the resolution, the resolution states the city shall request for proposals and solicit bids for analysis of fire and police department facilities and equipment. So you said you're meeting with someone. Is that someone to advise you on how to go forward with an RFP, or is that someone you're basically, or is that more or less you're meeting with someone?
He'll help us out with the RFP.
So he's helping you to develop the RFP.
We'll be able to develop an RFP with his information.
Okay. I just wanted to make clear that it wasn't entirely clear whether we were sole sourcing the work already to this individual or...
Well, I'd just like to add a disclaimer, too. I mean, this is new to us, so we're going to have some information, a lot of information put out in front of us, so that's why I was asking for the other week. It's low money right now, but I think we'll be able to get it done. But, of course, I don't want to be sure that it's going to take a lot of work, so we just want to be sure we have enough time. But our goal is to create the RFP as requested through the city council.
So this isn't the person that's actually doing the analysis. This is the person that's helping to develop a proper RFP.
He's going to give us the, lack of better terms, a roadmap to get there.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
Director, do we have an amount that his...
He's charging us his flight here, vehicle, so we're thinking around $1,750.
1,700?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R20 is approved as amended, 7-0.
20R22, authorizing the Public Works Director to enter into a contract with T. Miazzi, Inc.
Also approved.
Motion made by Councilman Canoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Sierra. Comments?
Council President?
Councilman Canoyer.
I'd like to ask the Director a question. 2 items, Steve. Is it the whole of Park Ave or just a portion?
Hamlet Avenue to Transit Street.
Okay.
Goes through the light, Logie, past
Yep.
the old Doobie Spa, or it's Deb's now,
Yep, I got it.
to that light.
Yep, all the way down to the Precious Blood or whatever church and
No.
up to Transit?
No. Transit is,
No, Precious Blood is
Is
Hamlet.
You're going up to the old
That's the
George's
Hamlet.
Tailoring.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so from
George's
Precious
down to the Hamlet.
Blood,
Got it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, correct. Precious
yeah.
Blood.
That's
I was thinking Queen of Martyrs. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's all right. There's a couple of them on
I'm a
that
little
street.
flustered.
And then the other question is...
Impossible.
What's that?
Impossible.
And then just one other question, Steve. The work that's being done by the gas company on Park
Yes.
Ave, obviously, they're not... How far are they going down? Are they...
They're going to go
They
to
going past-
approximately Carnation Street.
Okay.
I'm going to try to get them to own from Park Square
Yep.
146A, the carnation,
Yep,
and then we'll probably have to pay for that piece in the middle.
yep. But there's no, we're going to confirm, obviously, that there's no intention by them to tear up Park Ave from Transit down to.
Oh, no,
in
we
any-
already
in
got
any of
that.
the near term, so
Right,
that's,
we had that signed off by them.
yep, okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate
And
it.
this includes all upgrades of our ADA access on the sidewalks that are not in compliance currently. So they're going to make every intersection where there's a crosswalk in compliance with ADA.
And then one last question, and thank you for that. Have we done any business with Miozy in the past?
We have. Several years ago, they paved half of Cass Avenue,
Okay, all right.
and they did a nice job.
Okay.
And they did the state DOT did business on Diamond Hill Road. That whole intersection was by Miozy.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Council President?
Councilman Ward.
As to the National Grid gas line work, and I know we've had this conversation before, but just to confirm, have we confirmed with them that once they've settled everything out, that they'll be doing curb-to-curb
yes,
repaving?
I had them in here last week, and I told them because there was no snow and we had a mild winter, I said, I'd like to stop projects right now. So they're on Park Avenue now, doing all their connections to the church.
So they're not going to make us wait a year once they're done?
So, and I said, my goal is before July 4th, I want that whole
Okay. good.
section paved.
Curb-to-curb.
Right, curb to
Excellent.
curb. I said, unless there's a leak or we request them to come out, then it's not curb to curb.
Right.
But if they're doing a new installation, and they're going to do several throughout the city on major roads, they're going to own it.
I think on behalf of all the lucky folks that have had to drive through there, they'll feel satisfied that at least they're going to get a full curb-to-curb replacement.
Right.
Thank you.
We're going to interact with them like on some of those side streets before this law came into effect that were never paved. They're going to pay us a portion, and I'll, with the general fund, we'll complete that road curb.
Like Cranston or
in-house.
Newport or those streets. Okay, good, thank you.
Elmore, and there's a bunch of others, streets.
Director, if I could, in the bid analysis that we were provided with,
Yep.
it appears that the bids for this project range from $400,500
Yep.
to, am I correct in seeing this, that it's 1.1 million?
Yeah, there was a company from Massachusetts, and that happens frequently. That's they really don't want the job, but they just throw a number out there, and if you're stupid enough to bite, then it's a home run, So that's the contractor world. Some people really wanted the job, as you can see, and
Well, I just wanted to make it clear, it seems like we had 8 bidders,
yes.
ranging from $400,500 to $1.1 million, and some of them are up in the $600,000-700,000 range.
Yes.
I just wanted the public to be aware that the Miozy is the lowest bidder,
It is,
and
yes.
that it was compared to some of the other bids, it was a very good price on the project. So I just we see this information and the public does not.
It's a very good price. I'm going to leave it at that.
Very good. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R22 is approved, 7-0.
20R24, authorizing the cancellation of certain taxes.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Canoia, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments?
Yes.
Councilman Ward.
Yes, the total amount of this abatement is $232.90. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R24 is approved, 7-0.
20R25, in opposition of certain sections of the governor's 2021 budget proposal, H7171.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
as I had promised, I drafted this, and I limited it to simply the 50% cut in the distressed community relief funds. It is being done relatively close to concurrently with a letter delivered to the General Assembly leadership in opposition to this 50% cut in distressed community relief funds that would total up to $387,753. A burden that this city certainly is not in a position to afford, especially based on the premise that the governor seems to think that somehow because the economy is doing well that everybody is doing well, not giving recognition to the fact that Woonsocket's per capita income is 68% of the state average. And in fact, over the last 25 years, we've had the lowest growth of any community in the state in median household income. So in fact, though rising tides raise all boats, some boats rise higher than other boats, and Woonsocket has not been rising as fast as the rest of the state. And so that is why, at least for this item and for many others in the governor's budget, I take exception, but especially this one, it's the one that has the most dollar value associated with it. So I would appreciate it if we will pass this and move it on to the General Assembly delegation.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 20R25 is loudly approved, 7-0.
20R26, establishing a city council committee to explore animal shelter building and operating options.
Council President? I'd like
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Susi. Comments?
I would like to offer an amendment.
Councilwoman Sierra has an amendment.
Thank you. In Section 2, I would like to strike that the following members of the City Council shall comprise the Animal Shelter Committee, strike the 3 names, and in Section 2, insert that the Council President shall appoint at least 3 members of the City Council to serve on the animal shelter.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments on the amendment?
Council President,
Councilman Kithis.
this is mostly just an administrative thing, but I think our rules say it's no more than 3. So maybe can we make an amendment on the amendment that it's not at least 3 members of the committee, but rather exactly 3?
I think the charter says at least 3.
That's the exact wording of the charter.
What are our rules further limit that?
But the charter trumps our rules.
Charter trumps the rules.
Is that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, a gathering of 4 of us would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Exactly.
So.
Well, you could still have a subcommittee. You just have to make sure even a committee of 3 has to abide by the open meetings. So it's not like you're getting around having to do public notices and such. Even if you're 3 members, we could have a subcommittee of 4. And they just.
I think that's what you're alluding to.
Yeah, I actually don't think we can, based on the Open Meetings Act, because. Never mind.
The language of the resolution is proper.
I'm sorry?
The language of the amendment is proper.
Okay. Then on the advice of the solicitor, because he's often quiet when he has advice, but he's got advice tonight. So when he has advice, we will listen to it. Any other comments on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? What's ours? Oh.
I said nay, just for the sake.
Let the record reflect that the amendment was 6-1 with Councilman Kithis voting no. On the main motion as amended, 20R26, do we have any other comments? I would just like to thank Councilwoman Sierra for stepping up for this. I think it's long overdue, and you are the right person to lead this group, I'm sure. So I look forward to making the appointments as was indicated, and I think good things will come out of that committee. So thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 20R26 is approved, 7-0 as amended.
Mr. Council President.
Councilman Ward.
There being no further business before this body, and in anticipation of a Super Tuesday tomorrow, I move we adjourn.
Motion made by Councilman Ward.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Sierra and Councilman Kithis. All those to adjourn at 8:23. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 8:23.